I'm sure you know that the big word of 2013 was selfie, right? Because if you're anything like me, you take a ton of selfies when you're out on your own, when you're with friends, selfie, 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 right? It's crazy and a lot of fun. But getting them right is much easier with a few simple tips. Tip number 1, do not use the front-facing camera on your phone. It's a much smaller lens, it's a much smaller sensor. Your photos are nowhere near as good as they will be when you're using the actual lens and camera on the backside of your phone. Tip number 1. Tip number 2, can be a bit tricky to know where your camera is pointing, right? Because you can't see the screen anymore. Dead easy. The center of your frame is always perfectly perpendicular with the body of your phone. If you remember that, then immediately your aim is going to skyrocket. So, now we know where to point the camera, how do we take the photo? There are a few different ways, depends totally on the kind of phone you're using. I'm going to show you with an iPhone. I've got a new one, slightly older one. If you use an Android phone, then bad luck. No, I don't really mean that. If you use an Android phone, then I'm sure that one of these techniques will apply to you as well, because there are thousands of them out there. If you're using an older phone, here's the trick. The camera does not fire when you press the button. The camera fires when you take your finger off the button. So put your finger on the button, frame yourself up. See what I mean? And you've got a selfie. Dead easy. Things change a little bit on the new iPhone because they don't fire when you take your finger off, they fire when you put your finger on. So how do you find the shutter button? That's easy too. The shutter button is right next to the only other button on your phone, the only real button on your phone, the home. So I know that when I frame up my selfie, all I need to do is a little bit over from the home button, a little bit different this time, and I've got my photo. Super easy. And you know what? On iPhones and quite a few Android phones, you can also use the volume button as well. So there you go, quick, easy tips for selfies. Oh, and remember, if you're not the only one in the photo and you want a little bit of scenery over your shoulder, or you've got a friend with you, dead easy to frame it as well. Just move yourself a little bit off center so that perpendicular center line is just going over your shoulder or towards that amazing sunset behind you, and you'll get the perfect selfie. Check out a few that we did.